Sup Shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to an SP Reviews, where today we have ourselves a track from an act named Armored Dawn titled Brand New Way. And if we switch it over to here, we have ourselves a track on the screen, and we're going to be listening through this track from start to finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go. Fascinating with the synths, the sequences off the bat. And that bass tone is to die for, man. Anyone taking lessons, that's how you start a track. Interesting, unpredictable synth sequencer with a bass tone that's just an absolute killer bass tone. Find a brand new way, hook line, drums and guitar, nice performance with the rhythm parts. Dope.
We got to be our own heroes. We got to stand up and fight. Carry the weight of the world and leave hard times behind. Nobody can hold us. Nothing can bring us down. This is not the end. This is just the beginning. Let's start all again together. We'll find our brand new way.
It's just so, and let me say this in a way where I mean it so honestly and genuinely. It's catchy, but it's not cheesy, right? It's just there's wonderful attention to detail with the different guitar riffs, this sequencing of those synths on top with the bass and drums so tight in the low end. And the vocals are charismatic, they're passionate. This is what you need from a first impression. They're nailing it, man.
Don't need to fear.
It's such a sick riff, man.
United our forces rise. Our bond will never be broken. We have the power inside. Nobody can hold us.
Such a satisfying transition.
Nothing can bring us down. This is not the end. This is just the beginning. Let's start all again together. We'll find our brand new way. All the past is gone. They'll never get us. We'll always defeat our foes.
I'll go back a little bit for the solo, but that's exactly what I need from a band, is to have a different chord progression, a different route with the song at that interlude point. Have a slight twist in the tail just to spice things up, even if it's only 3:46, which is not a short track, but it's also not relatively long. There's just so much attention to detail put in here, man. We'll go back a little bit. That was a satisfying finish.
This is just the beginning. Let's start all again together. We'll find our brand new way. We'll find our brand new way. This is not
What are they going to do differently at this point?
This is just the beginning. Let's create a brand new way. We'll find our brand new way. Brand new way. We'll find our brand new way. Brand new way. We'll find our brand new way.
And it just finishes with those mysterious There's so much to talk about here. That's such beautiful cinematography, though. The woman on the horse with the sunset. It's so gorgeous, man. Okay, let's discuss this track. And welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Armored Dawn, titled Brand New Way. Now, what do I think this track is about? From the vocals and the lyrics, as well as the video, because I'm obviously got a music video, so we're going to take clues and hints from both. My understanding is that maybe this is like a post-apocalyptic situation. You can see they're in like the ruins. And maybe people have been trying to figure the solution out to their problems alone. But then what they've realized is maybe it would be more effective if they worked together on it. And I think that that is a beautiful sentiment that makes a lot of sense. I liked the fact that it's relatively easy and simple to understand the chorus lyrics. You know, it's very straightforward. There is obviously nuance with the verse sections, but the main message is so uplifting and easy to sort of like process that even I think that if this had not been metal, it would have come across as a little bit like, how do I describe it? The heaviness of the music makes the message inspiring. I don't think that you could have pulled off a story like this with other genres that are a bit more soft. Like, there are genres like, I don't know. I don't want to get into that debate a little bit too much, but I think the choice of music with the choice of story was good. The vocal performance was great. We hit those notes cleanly, comfortable within our vocal range. We had some growled bits on the sides occasionally, but mainly we had the clean vocals and in the middle point. I think that they were so well placed in the mix because you could just hear them wherever they came in. And that was not just down to the mixing, it was also a conscious understanding and awareness of where we needed to place ourselves within the actual composition, the instrumental layers and stuff like that. So great choice of singer there, really well done. I'm really happy with the way that we sang and how we expressed ourselves. You know, you could see in the video they were doing like the arms crossed and everything like that. Very charismatic. It's what you need from a video. You need more than just the sound of the person. You need them to really sell it. And we nailed that here. I think that it seemed very authentic, and I have absolutely no complaints about that side of things. So the vocals and story made sense together. It was just really satisfying whenever we went at the end of that Find a Brand New Way. That line was very satisfying whenever it resolved into the next section, especially that interlude part where it took me by surprise. The track at 3 minutes 46. I like the length of it. I mean, basically it was about 3:20 with the extra credits bit at the end. I think that's a good length for this track. We had a message which was fairly easy to digest and understand with some nuance again in the verse sections, but we had verses and choruses, and we had we obviously had the instrumentals intro, and then we had the outro, and you know, like that was great. And we had like an interlude as well as a solo section. That's a lot to fit into 3 minutes 20, and it's a lot to be able to do well. And I don't think there was a weak component of it. I think if we just go through the instruments off the top of my head, I think the synth part that we had at the beginning was tremendous. It was such a compelling, engaging idea to have that really just, when I think of the genre of music, I don't necessarily think of synth straight off the bat, but it worked really well. And to have the bass come along in that underside there with a thick full tone to it, just to resolve not only the root notes but also to provide a nice foil to those synths, was tremendous. It was a great choice there, not only in regards to the accompaniment but also the frequency spectrum. There was lots of space there and it really filled it out. And obviously the vocals soaring over top into the Brand New Way part with the guitars on the sides with the big chunky power chords, and just, you know, the harmonies being so strong and vibrant in this one with the drums. Phenomenal use of Ace of 16s here with some interesting 16th triplet fills. We're really tight with those double kicks as well. We explored the kit well, never overplayed, and it was a really tight performance overall. So I think that the instruments were really, had a great chemistry between them and suited the vocals really well. The guitar solo, and as a guitarist here, I know commenting on a guitarist solo is like a no-no. I want to say that initially I wasn't entirely sold on it because I was trying to figure out, like in the first half anyways, I wasn't entirely sold on the guitar solo because I was like, where are we going with this? Are we trying to compel what was going on with the vocals? Because we kind of went in our own melodic direction there. We had we had really interesting rhythms to it. It was unpredictable. It was very spicy with some of those bends. The shred near the end was fantastic, but what really kind of brought me back in with that guitar solo that we had was just I was thinking about it as I went, I was like, no, they clearly understand music theory and composition because and how to keep everything nice and tight. So it's deliberately going away from the rest of the band in the solo. Then the lead guitarist brought it back in and resolved really wonderfully back into that last hook, and that's what brought me back in. I was really stoked. It was almost like, I think the solo to me was someone realizing they were on their own, crying out for help, and then basically they came back and sort of like joined everyone else, and they were better as a whole. That's my interpretation of the guitar solo. It was a wonderfully played solo, like absolutely not a note out of place. That's just transparency. And with that in mind, I'm satisfied with all the components of the performance, the arrangement, the vocals, as well as the story itself. So everything's nice and tight. It's just the studio recording, mixing, and mastering, and we smashed that out of the park. It was great. The vocals were nice and clear and constant throughout. We didn't need a lot of range to those. I like the fact that the growled vocals were double tracked on the sides. They sounded a lot heavier and interlude because of that. They had a great heft to them. It was nice contrast between the higher cleans and then the lower growled parts. The guitars double tracked on the sides had a great presence as well as being nice and full sounding. The bass tone was wonderful with the compression EQing there. The drums were nice cutting into the mix, but never where it seemed like kind of too blunt. They peppered with all the different fills and grooves, but it was nicely balanced with everything else. And the synths and that mid to high range resonance there sat on top and it just existed in a way that was nice and complementary to the rest of everything else that was going on. Things were nice and wide in the stereo field. Things were nicely balanced within the frequency spectrum with very few to no. There were no resonant frequencies there. And there was dynamic range. Things weren't the same loudness. Like, for instance, the synth part at the start wasn't as loud as when everything came in, which is great. You need that change there in regards to the perceived loudnesses there to keep listeners engaged and interested. And then finally, it was nice and loud without pumping, so limiting bus compression was nailed. And this is basically my review of this track from Armored Dawn, titled Brand New Way. And hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show them some love via their various social medias and YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I'll catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.